And we're live.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, or whatever time it is for you right now. Just know that you are locked in on To The Point with
Skip.
and the King. You guys know where to find Simon Broder right now. Get the book, Running the Point, simonbroder.com, amazon.ca. You can find him on Dougie J's on Twitter.
Definitely check out my Twitter account, guys. I've been tweeting a lot lately. It's a little bit of Blue Jays, a lot of Raptors. So keep up to date on my Twitter account. And as always, follow the To The Point page on Facebook and our Instagram page as well.
Our Instagram page, our YouTube page, which is where you better be watching this right now. And guess what, guys? We're going to be having our own Twitter page, and that's going to get pretty live. Skip. You know I'm a fan of Jeopardy and all kinds of like trivial games. Who am I right now?
I'm going to go with Joel Embiid.
Yeah, damn right, brother. That is hilarious. Last year, after losing with the 4-bounce shot from your boy Kawhi, who left us, and then this year, with the Boston Celtics sweeping them, they left the Sixers in a pile of dust. But not to mention, your Toronto Raptors left the Brooklyn Nets in a pile of dust as well. It was absolutely amazing. This is why, Skip, I gotta ask you a couple things. Why do you think the Raptors swept the Brooklyn Nets?
No, come on. There's no argument. They were missing 6 of their top 7 players. There was no team there. They were playing nobody. When Joe Harris left the bubble, like who did the Nets have left? It was like, who was the guy that got into it with Van Vliet? I don't even know his name. Like Kurtz or Nerd? No, I don't even know that white guy with the beard. I don't even know who he was.
Who?
Exactly.
Who?
It was like Chris Fields that was like their second best player, and it's like this guy doesn't even really belong on the floor in an NBA game, let alone a playoff game. So it was. Let's be honest, it was a boring series. I was falling asleep. Having the games on at 1 in the afternoon didn't help. I'm waking up. I'm just getting out of bed. I flip on the Raptors game, and it's like, oh, it's over in the second quarter. Like 100 bench points. Come on, 100 bench points.
Oh, we'll get to that in a bit. We'll get to that in a bit. Because we got to talk about this Raptors bench, which is unbelievable. And the Sixers going out, Skip? What did you think about that?
Well, I mean, obviously.
Did you expect that? Because we were looking at a game 6.
I said the Sixers would go out in 6. I didn't think they'd beat the Celtics without Simmons, but they definitely really folded. I was not impressed with how they played. I'll be honest, I didn't watch a lot of the games, but what I was seeing was I would flip the game on in the second quarter, and it'd be like, oh, the Sixers are in this one. They're actually going to pull this one out. And then you flip back over in the third and the fourth, and they were just double Embiid in the post, and then Philly had nothing else. They had nothing else. Like Tobias Harris wasn't doing much. Horford wasn't doing much. They were just getting crushed, and Boston.
Look how much they're getting paid to do nothing.
And Boston was just like, we'll take this game over now. We want to win. It was just the same way the Raptors did with the Nets. The Nets would sort of hang around for the first half, and then you saw even in the fourth game against the Nets, it was pretty close in the first half, and then the Raptors came out in the third quarter. And they were like, yeah, we want this series to be over, so go away. And they just like ran up the score, and then all the starters sat, and the bench came in, and it was like 12 minutes of garbage time. And I mean, it wasn't quite as extreme in the Celtics series, but you could see when the Celtics wanted to win, they took control, and Philly had nothing they could do. And obviously, people are going to go on about Embiid being out of shape, being lazy. I don't know.
Forget that. Let him cry all he wants.
I don't know.
Okay? You're out of it. Brett Brown just got fired today. That's it. He's over. Skip. With your Toronto Raptors controlling the Brooklyn Nets, they absolutely destroyed them. They ate their food, bro. Look at the last game. Look at the statement they made. which is having 100 points from your bench, okay, and getting a franchise record of 150 points in a game. You know what that goes out to? That goes out to the coach of the year.
Nick Nurse,
Nick
baby.
Nurse.
Yeah.
Yes, he knows what to do. I'm glad he stepped up after Dwayne Casey, because Dwayne Casey did not make any adjustments. Nick Nurse made all the adjustments he has to. Okay,
I'm gonna back
and he
you up.
does that everywhere. What do you think about that, Skip? Because I don't know about you, but I think it's we put it on our page. Well deserved, very deserved. What do you think about that, Skip?
Oh, I'm happy you got Coach of the Year. I mean, look at it. The Raptors have 2 of the last 3 Coaches of the Year, and the one year they didn't get Coach of the Year, they won the damn playoffs. So I'm totally happy with Nurse getting Coach of the Year. He's been terrific this year. But specifically to that Game 4 against the Nets, I don't think that was a whole lot of Nick Nurse. I think that was the Raptors just coming out, and the Nets were just like, well, we're going to lose anyway, so we're just going to run like it's a pickup game. And they just ran, and they just tried to score as much as they could, and the Raptors were like, you could do that, but we're just going to score better than you. And even after, so Lowry got hurt, Van Vliet got in foul trouble, Gasol, he barely played. And then they just threw in the bench, and the bench was like, yeah, we'll run with you, and we'll run up the score. And it wasn't even a contest at the end of the day. So, I mean, it was a ridiculous game, but it was just, the fourth game of a sweep is always the least interesting game of a series because everyone on the floor knows it's over.
So, Skip, I got to ask you, based on Nick Nurse being Coach of the Year right now, right? The only game the Raptors lost in the bubble was against the Boston Celtics. And we all think the Raps threw that game. And if you watch that game, you could clearly see they did because Nick Nurse did not want to give anything. He was just being smart.
Yeah, it's really just about how much they threw it. Did they intentionally lose or did they just not try that hard?
Yeah, come on, man. Come on, man. You saw that. They gave him a corner 3 on the left
Yeah,
wing.
they weren't trying that hard.
Come on. No, they weren't. They were just collapsing on the right and letting the left open. Anyway, but that's the X's and O's. If you guys want, we can break that down for you. So the Raptors are poised to face the Boston Celtics if that takes place. Because we've heard some news, and I got to ask you about this, Skip. Yeah. Okay? Norman Powell and Fred Van Vliet had a quote about the whole Jacob Blake and them being in the bubble. And it's possible that game can get delayed. What are your thoughts on that, about them actually boycotting it?
Well, so it wasn't just Van Vliet and Powell. It was also Jaylen Brown, and there was one other Celtic who said the same thing. But Marcus it sounds like all the, I don't think it was Smart, but it doesn't matter who it was. It sounds like that they sort of came to the press conference and they really just said, we thought this was over. We thought we were making a difference. We thought that putting Black Lives Matter on our shirt and on the court, we're going to make a difference, and it isn't making a difference. I got to say, I'm very sympathetic to that feeling, but I think we all kind of knew that going into this, is that, yeah, they're just going to throw up some shirts that say Black Lives Matter. It's just going to be a slogan. No one's really going to care. It's like Kyrie said, basketball is just going to be a distraction. We're going to go back to watching basketball instead of watching the news every night and the protests, which, to be fair, is kind of what's happened because people aren't really talking about it as much as they were 2 or 3 months ago. So it is important to bring it back into the consciousness. So I get where they're coming from that point of view. And we all saw that graphic video from the other day. It was just another attempted murder. Fortunately, the guy survived. Blake survived, but he's paralyzed from the waist down. And if you saw the video, it just brutal.
Yeah, we've all seen it. It's pretty graphic, and it's unfortunate with his kids being in the car.
So I think it's important what these guys are saying. My personal instinct when I first heard that was the time to boycott the season has passed. I thought if they had decided not to come back, decided not to come to the bubble, if they decided to say we're holding out for social justice, I think that was the time to make that statement in the wake of the Floyd murder, in the wake of all that stuff going on. I think they could have made a really powerful statement then. So it just seems tough for them to really try and make a big statement now that they're already in the bubble, their families are in the bubble, they've already become a part of this machine. But the counterpoint is that you could say basketball wasn't happening before. So if the players went on strike or boycott or whatever you want to call it before, people wouldn't maybe not have noticed, because it's like basketball wasn't happening anyway because of coronavirus. Whereas if you bring us to the bubble, start the games again, start the playoffs moving, get through the first round, and then you strike, then it's like, hey, where'd our playoffs go? And then that'll make people sit up and take notice, because people pay attention to the playoffs. So there's an argument there that maybe now is the time. But I really think the time to do it would have been beforehand, when it could have been all the players in unison, just basically going on a general strike, versus what they're talking about now, which is, so if you boycott they're talking about boycotting game 1 on Thursday night. The question is, so what does that do? Is it like, do you boycott game 1 and then just start the series on Saturday instead? Or do you actually not play basketball?
The schedule?
Do you actually just not play basketball until something changes? I mean, there's a cynical side of me which says, yeah, boycott game 1, because then Lowry will be healthy for game 2. But
well, that's where I want to get to, Skip.
Yeah.
Based on what you just said. So when and if the Raptors do play the Boston Celtics, there's a lot to cover there. Like, I would like to know, how many games do you think it would go? And who would win based on the situation with Norman Powell and Fred VanVleet talking about boycotting, who have been huge for the Raptors? Absolutely. Like, Norman Powell's a plus 62. Like, come on. Can't even talk about that. Like,
that is ridiculous. I didn't know that stat before you told me, but yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. That's absolutely ridiculous. What do you think it would go through if it were to play out, despite the boycott? Like, how do you think this is all going to play out at the end of this series?
So, assuming they start on Thursday as scheduled, assuming that the series plays out pretty normally, with a healthy Lowry, or relatively healthy Lowry, I have the Raptors winning in 7. I don't feel really good about that pick. I feel like there's a pretty good chance that the Celtics can hang tight and maybe win in 7. I think if we were to pick one team to win in less than 7, I might even lead Celtics. But generally, I think this series is a toss-up.
That's your favorite city!
No, don't even get me started on Boston. But
Boston! You know how much you love Boston. We all know how much you love Boston, man.
I talk so much about how much I hate Boston. But the funny thing is, my 2 number 1 teams, the Raptors and the Jays, up until this series, neither of them has ever played Boston in the playoffs. Think about that for a second. Like, these are like our natural rivals.
Wow.
In both of the cities, but I don't think the Red Sox have ever played the Jays in the playoffs, and
with in the same division. In
the same division and everything. Obviously, the Leafs and the Bruins have their whole playoff history, but we don't talk hockey on this podcast, so let's not go there. Yeah. Let's not go there. So yeah, I have it going 7. I have the Raptors pulling it out in 7. What do you think?
I believe Raptors fans, guess what? I'm saying Raps in 6. You believe it?
Oh boy.
Wow. Listen, man, there's a lot going on right now in this series, like with their matchups. Okay. There's 2 major injuries. Okay?
Yeah.
You have, Skip, I got to ask you about this, because you have Gordon Hayward out. He's not going to be playing for a couple weeks. Kyle Lowry sustained an injury in that 150-point win with his ankle, but he said, as of today, that he would be ready to go for game 1. Do you think that plays a part? Let's just say Kyle Lowry's out, and Hayward's out. How do you think that balance is? Like, what do you think of the matchups? Because you have who's playing the one, who's playing the point guard.
Well, I mean, if Lowry's out, it's obvious. It's obviously Van Vliet. First of all,
and who's going to play against? Oh, okay, go on.
Sorry. So first of all, like I think I've heard rumors that he's coming back, but I don't think the Raptors have announced he's coming back. I think it's sort of just people who are in the know are saying he's just going to be tape it up and he'll probably be limping a little bit, but he'll play kind of thing. So that's the word on the street. I don't know if anything official has come out, like an injury report. But yeah, so obviously if you lose Lowry, even for a game or two, what happens is Van Vliet steps into the lead guard role. Norm steps into the starting lineup. Terrence Davis starts coming off the bench to fill in for Norm. So the Raptors can sustain Lowry for the most part. They actually went 12-2 during the season without him. They're a really good team without him. So they can function without him. The question is, this is the playoffs. You're playing against a team that's really evenly matched with you. You're going to need that guy. And I don't think Hayward, ever since he came to Boston, I don't think he's been that guy for Boston.
He hasn't really made much of a difference, even though I like the guy, man. I love that dude. But
I think he's been better this year. I think he is an important player for their team, but he's not the guy. He's not the guy that things run through. So I think they can handle losing him a little better than the Raptors can handle losing Lowry.
I liked them when Kobe torched them in Kobe's last game. By the way, guys, 8-2-4.
Yeah.
Remember the day? Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
basically, since he showed up, it's really been Tatum's team.
Oh, it's 100% Tatum's team. Yeah. Even over Kemba. Kemba has not been anywhere near the guy he was in Charlotte for them because it's Tatum's team.
Yeah.